All right, so we're back to Tears of the Kingdom story time, basically, is what this has become. Um, yeah, so the last time I made a video, I was talking about turning points that I had in my life. And yeah, in order to tell that story of what my caused my turning points, I have to basically tell about my ayahuasca trip, which my first one that I had was at 26, and now I'm 32. So it's been about 6 years since I have done it for the first time. And I basically did it 6 times, and then not all at once, but within the span of 2 months. And then I took 6 years off, and then I did it recently, about 5, 6 months ago. So, yeah, I've had time to reflect on it. I took a long time to integrate and actually sort out what it meant for me and kind of understand and integrate the experience more. So, yeah, I think it's a good moment to kind of talk about it and explain how it felt and what I got out of it because, yeah, it can be pretty intense for a lot of people when they first do it. It certainly was for me. And I think it could be helpful to just explain my experience and how I integrated it, and maybe it's something you've considered doing. And yeah, side note, I just got to this random little Goron town, and I'm super excited to be here, and I kind of want to be present for it. Ooh, this is healing my health. That's nice. Hot spring. So I might leave this area and come back because I don't want to be too distracted because this looks fun. It's zombie Gorons. Yeah. Yeah, this looks fun. I'm gonna do something different. I don't think I beat this shrine yet, so I'm gonna just do that because it's nearby. So yeah, I well, so up until having done ayahuasca, I had never done psychedelics before, ever. So I dived into the deep end, basically. When I went and did that for the first time, it was also my first psychedelic experience, which is kind of crazy looking back. But I really, at the time, felt that I needed something intense to kind of break me out of my current frame of thinking and feeling, because I really wasn't feeling very good or positive in general at the time. It was, yeah, some of my darkest moments with my darkest thoughts. I was dealing with a lot of depression and just generally kind of felt that our relationships never really worked out the way that I wanted them to, with just in general, family, friends, dating, all those things. But externally, I'm just assuming I need these blocks, but I actually am not sure. Externally, things were great. I had a great job. I was making good money. I had my own apartment. I was casually dating girls, and having success with that. So, on the exterior, it might have seemed like I had everything figured out and that things were going really well. But in reality, I wasn't really cultivating the deeper relationships and more meaningful relationships that I actually wanted. And it just felt like things wouldn't really work out when I would try. So, yeah, it was getting pretty discouraging and upsetting. And yeah, I went through a bad period where I had a falling out with someone close to me. And yeah, it didn't really feel very good. And at the same time, excuse me, I have a cold. At the same time as that happening, I kind of had this crazy series of events where I thought I was saving up 2 weeks of vacation at work, but in reality, I didn't check the HR manual, and of course, the HR never warned me about it because, at least in the US, it's kind of a, you know, take care of yourself kind of mindset when it comes to those things. They don't really care if you lose your vacation or not. So, oh shoot. I had thought I was saving up 2 weeks vacation, but in reality, I got capped at 40 hours. And I was pretty burnt out at the time from my job. And when I went and to go plan a vacation or start thinking about it, when I realized that I had essentially thought I was saving up to 80 hours and had lost 40 hours, I was pretty upset. And I went to my manager and I said, hey, I really worked my butt off for this company, and this is just not cool. I tried calling HR. They basically told me to go F myself, and I am not going to put up with this because I didn't work for nothing. I didn't work to not take my vacation. And if I had known, I would have used it. And I basically told my manager, you're going to get my hours back from me or I'm going to quit, because I was really done with that company at that point anyway. They were doing a lot of things that, even though it was a good job, they were doing things that I thought were a bit unethical and just kind of cutting corners to save money and things like that, which I wasn't really too fond of. So I just was kind of feeling fed up with them as it was. And that was just the straw that was about to break the camel's back, per se. So, I basically made that threat and said, hey, get my hours back or I'm going to leave. So thankfully they took that seriously, and he got my hours back, which was good. But the caveat to it was, hey, I got your hours back, but you got to use it within the next 2 days. Like, you got to start taking it now. So funny enough, I had been kind of looking at ayahuasca recently, and I had learned about it. It's funny, there's repeating numbers here. I had learned about it about 6 years prior, and I kind of told myself that I wanted to do it someday, but I was kind of worried about the risks about it and didn't really want to take the risk, and kind of told myself, well, one day before you die, you'll do it, And I'd kind of reached such a point of feeling depressed that I wasn't really worried about that anymore. And I just kind of thought, like, all right, well, I'm just going to do this now. And this was actually really easy. It's funny, I was here earlier and I couldn't figure it out. And now it feels super easy, and I don't know how I didn't know how to do before. But that tends to be just how the Zelda puzzles work for me. My brain just sleeps on it and figures it out. But Yeah, so I got the hours back. My manager calls me back and says, "All right, I got your hours back, but I know today's Thursday, but you gotta start using them by Monday. You gotta take the whole week." So, and I had just so happened to be getting a lot of YouTube recommendations randomly about ayahuasca. So it was in my mind again, and I was feeling at this low point. I had this big falling out, someone close to me, and all these things that made me feel that I actually really needed that type of experience. So I thought to myself, you know what? This was aligning too perfectly, and this just feels like something that I need right now. So I just decided to go for it and to see if it could help me as much as people online promised. And yeah, it didn't fall short. It really lived up to my expectations and hopes. And yeah, it was super intense, but worth the intensity and worth the difficulty of it. But yeah, pretty much everything you hear about it is true and pretty accurate. And that's the good and terrifying thing about it. So, yeah, I guess I could get into the details of what that looked like. So, I go to this place, and it's pretty funny actually because I was very scared to do it, but I just decided that I would. So, I looked up this place that had medical assistants, and that's how they kind of advertised themselves. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna go to this place, and they have doctors on site, so I won't feel as scared. If I need to get pulled out of the trip, I'll be able to. And yeah, I get there and I get interviewed by the doctor, and it's questionable if he was even a real doctor. I think he was, but it was just so informal, and he seemed very just jaded and not very present, and just kind of went down a list of very generic questions. And yeah, it was pretty short. There was not much security that I gained out of that experience. So I basically left questioning if he was even a real doctor or if I was really going to get the safety and the experience that I had hoped that I would. And I didn't. It wasn't really, that assistance wasn't really there, which maybe is for the better in some ways, but yeah. So, and it's funny, when you get there, they offer you, they kind of get you prepared by doing this class the day of, where you talked to the people that have basically done it before and are kind of the, what do you call them, the integration coaches, or they're just kind of the assistants. Ah, these guys used to scare me. Now it feels kind of easy. Yeah, so they basically ran this class, and in the class, they were just basically kind of talking about a little bit of what to expect, but not really so much, more about to try not to expect anything and try to go in with an open mind, which I thought was good. But it was funny because they were already on the defensive when I arrived, which to me was a little bit of a red flag. It's a little bit concerning when you show up and the guy that's your instructor slash coach basically seems like he's currently high. And he was so happy and joyful and acting like he was high that he was saying all these things where he just felt a little bit ungrounded and disconnected. And he said stuff along the lines of, yeah, so some people call us a cult, but we're not a cult. We just are really loving and care about your growth. And if, that's your concern, just focus on the fact of whether or not you're actually healing. And he was just going on this whole spiel about how they're not a cult. And to me, that was pretty concerning because if you have to immediately defend yourself and tell me that you're not a cult, it's kind of a red flag that you might be. And yeah, that was pretty concerning. So I walked in and I thought, oh Jesus, I just joined a cult by accident, and they're kind of acting a bit culty already. Everyone's kind of high on the Kool-Aid. So I better keep my guard up. So I really did have my guard up pretty much my entire time there when it came to a lot of the facilitators and all those people, which I think in general was kind of a good thing because the impression that I basically left with was that a lot of those people there that were facilitating were still on their own healing journeys and they weren't really actually ready to facilitate for people. And it's not that they didn't deserve to be there and facilitating, because there's only one way to get good at something, and that's to start doing it. So in that sense, I think that it was okay. But in another way, it was bad because a lot of those people would project like crazy onto other people. I had one guy that really projected onto me a lot, and it was super uncomfortable. And yeah, that's kind of the spiritual community in general, is kind of what I've learned over the years since having gotten involved with these types of people. I don't have any food. Okay, I don't want to fight these guys because I just don't have the food to survive. Back to the spring, back to the hot spring. So, yeah, I'm worried that I stepped into a cult, and it was a little bit culty. It was not a cult, but it certainly felt like one a little bit at certain points with some of the things they were doing. And yeah, but it was what it was. It's not like they tried to force anyone to stay, but they definitely offered for people to stay if they wanted to. So that was what it was. Yeah, so the first night they basically, well, every night they basically give you recommended intentions to have going into the journey, which was actually super helpful. I found the thing with ayahuasca is when you have an intention, that is exactly what you get on the trip. It might not appear in the way that you expect it to, but you get 100% what you ask for, even if it's not exactly what you think you're asking for. So it's a little bit of careful what you wish for kind of situation, but you do get what you wish for. So if you're looking for realizations on certain things about what direction to go in life or something along those lines, you will most likely get that out of your trip, or you'll at least progress in the right direction towards figuring it out, which is what happened to me. So I had pinpointed at the time that a big part of my unhappiness was a lack of direction and self purpose. I really felt strongly within myself that I had some type of higher purpose, a God given purpose, you could say. And I wasn't even sure if I believed in God, but I just felt this strong inner certainty of that purpose that I couldn't figure out. And I had felt that I was trying to figure it out for years and just couldn't sort it out. And because of that, I was not feeling fulfilled and not feeling happy, and ultimately not showing up in the relationships that I wanted the way that I would have liked. So I had pinpointed that I needed to really sort this out and figure out what I was going to do with my life, what direction I needed to go, and create a clear path. So that was my intention. But at the same time, they gave us a recommended intention of to show who you've become. So I wasn't ready to give up my intention, so I decided to ask for both. So I said, okay, ayahuasca, please go easy on me, but show me who I've become and show me what my life's purpose is. Actually, I think the first night I did not ask to go easy on me. I actually think I asked it to basically slap me in the face and just really help me sort my life out. Deep down, that's definitely what I was asking for. I really wanted something to really shake me up. So, yeah, but I was super nervous. And basically, what they do is they offer you a cup every hour. And they basically say, if you can still walk, then drink another cup. And trust me, you'll be feeling it. You'll know that you'll be feeling it when you are. So I took my first cup and I thought I was feeling something for a second or two, and I got kind of freaked out. And then I blocked the experience. And I thought to myself, all right, well, am I feeling it? I don't know. I don't think I'm feeling it. And just stuck in my head for basically an hour. And then the second cup gets offered. And I thought, all right, well, I don't think I'm feeling it. And I'm definitely not getting the experience I was hoping for. So I'm gonna just drink another cup. So I drank the second cup and I still didn't feel anything. And I sat there for what felt like another hour. So then I started really getting kind of frustrated. And at that point, well, even at the first cup, people were tripping. But by the second cup, people were hardcore tripping. People were wailing their arms and crying and laughing and vomiting and dancing and laughing like crazy people and all kinds of things. And yeah, everyone's having their own crazy trip. And I'm sitting there just waiting for now almost 2 hours thinking, what the heck? Why am I not feeling anything? And I went from being super nervous to starting to feel super frustrated and just really wanting the experience. And I saw another guy go up and get a third cup. So I thought, all right, I don't know how long it's been, but I'm going to get a third one because that guy just did. I'm going to try at least. So I went and talked to the shaman. I said, hey, I'm not feeling anything yet. And they said, are you sure you're not feeling anything? I said, yeah, pretty sure. I feel sober. I don't feel that anything's happening to me. And they said, all right, we'll give you a third cup. You should definitely feel something by the third cup. If you don't, let us know. If you need anything, let us know. I said, all right. So I took the third cup. I went back. And at that point, by the third cup, I was definitely feeling it, but I didn't realize I was feeling it because my ego was so just in the way. And but I wasn't feeling it that much. But I was definitely starting to get the effects. I just wasn't really conscious of what was happening or understanding of what was happening because it was starting to trigger the self reflection process that basically the night had suggested that I ask to see who I become. So I started feeling it, but I was convinced that I wasn't. And I go back up to them, another hour or so later, and I said, I'm still not feeling it because I just had these massive expectations, especially when you're in a room of people tripping balls and losing themselves completely. And you think to yourself, well, that's not happening to me. So something must be wrong. So, being the extremist I was at that point, I asked for a fourth cup. And the shaman responded to me saying, are you sure that you're not feeling anything? And I said, yep, I'm pretty sure. I said, maybe a tiny bit of something, but not what I need. And she said, all right, your mind is really strong, and we'll give you fourth cup, but it's gonna knock you like on your ass, basically. So be ready. It's gonna really knock you out of your ego, and you're about to go on a ride. So I said, all right, I'm ready. And at this point, I had not expected for it to hit me as hard as it did. So I take this fourth cup and I start tripping. And I got hit by it like a ton of bricks. And I need to drink some water. My throat is dying. I went to Mexico recently. I got sick and was there sick the entire time, basically. And when I flew home, I got hit with a flu. But I'm recovering and feeling better. So, yeah, I'm here recording. But anyway, where was I? Yeah, so basically, what started to happen was essentially a life review. How people describe when they die, they go through a life review. That's essentially what started happening to me. And I got extremely sick. And basically, I started having visions of every time I had not acted very empathetically towards people that I cared about a lot, and I could feel their emotions and how I hurt them. And I was basically living through the eyes of the other people and through the emotions of the other people. And yeah, I really felt all the worst parts of me and experienced all the worst parts of me and my personality at the time. And it was super painful. And it really just brought up these deep seated feelings of self hatred that I had been dealing with for a really long time, basically my whole life. And the self hatred became so strong, I started feeling as though I was being tortured by my mind. And all these moments that I had regretted just started bubbling to the surface. And extreme mental pain and physical pain simultaneously. It and I noticed the stigma that guys tend to over exaggerate physical illness, but I legit felt like I was being tortured in my body. I've never felt a pain like that before. I didn't know it was possible. I remember thinking to myself, begging for it to stop, and just begging and begging. I just thought to myself, I went from not really believing in it to, and not really knowing how to feel or think about it, to just thinking, God, please stop. Please, just ayahuasca. Just stop torturing me, please. Whatever lesson I need to learn, I'll take it. I just need to not, I need this to end. And yeah, after what felt similar to at least an hour's worth of torture, which when you're feeling that way feels like an eternity. Finally, there was a switch in my brain, and yeah, well, I forgot to mention this, but earlier in the night I had a review, like a life review process of all the people that had hurt me and had kind of left their scars on me. And it was kind of telling me that I needed to forgive them because they, like, only hurt people can hurt other people. And to kind of learn to have the empathy for the people that had hurt me, because there's no way they could have possibly hurt me without having been screwed up by somebody else in the process of their own life. And they kind of just played out that toxic cycle onto me. So I'd kind of started to really truly have empathy for those people that had hurt me in my life. And then it showed me the life review of me hurting other people because I had been hurt, and how I was continuing that toxic cycle, and that pattern onto people that I had loved. And I had spent most of my life trying to not be that, but I realized in that moment that despite trying as hard as I could not to be that, I had become it in a lot of different ways, or in a lot of different moments, really. So that was really hard to come to terms with. So there was a lot of self-hatred there, and it felt like torture. But eventually I realized, if I can forgive those other people because they were just stuck in a cycle, I'm allowed to forgive myself too, and choose to not be that anymore, and choose to be conscious about it, and choose to break the cycles, and choose not to pass it on, and be more conscious of it, and all these things. And once I had that realization and that inner forgiveness, it was as though all of the pain just went and just flushed out of my body almost instantly. And I went from excruciating pain, feeling like I was being tortured, to feeling moderately pretty good. And then just all of these blissful visions just flooding my brain. And I started getting all these visions of what my life could be and how incredibly loving and full of purpose they could feel, or it could feel, my life could feel. So, yeah, and I was just in pure bliss and pure ecstasy. So, and I had taken so much that I tripped until the next morning into the sunrise. And I was just tripping and living all these visions of what my life could be. And yeah, seeing that I had a certain life purpose and really getting in alignment with that and feeling it in that imagination was such a strong anchor and guidance, because I knew without a shadow of a doubt in my mind now what I wanted and which direction I wanted to go, because I had felt it and I knew how good it was going to feel when I achieve it. And the funny thing was is that I didn't identify as this person at all that I saw in the future. And that person that I saw actually scared me, because it was so out of alignment with who I was at the time. I saw myself as someone that was empowered and helping other people heal and doing all these things and talking to groups of people, and I saw myself with a family and kids and all these things. And all of these things that I really wanted deep down but wasn't conscious of, and I was scared of and didn't think I deserved. So, yeah, it was pretty hard to step into that new identity. So I came out of that trip the next day. And, oh, well, before I before I stopped tripping, the sun rose and I'm still tripping hard. And the guy comes in to clean up from the night before, like, and he's just laughing at me because I was tripping so hard. And I was just asking him, "Oh, have you done it? You gotta try it. It's amazing. It's changed my life tonight. All these things." And he's just laughing at me. He said, "No, no, I haven't tried it yet, but I see what it does." And yeah, and then I went to go back to my room, and there's this giant tree, and I suddenly felt that I could talk to the tree emotionally, not like I was hearing words or anything. But it was a really strange experience. I felt like I was emotionally connecting with the tree. And I thought to myself, all right, well, this is very strange and unexpected, but I guess I can talk to trees while I'm tripping. I guess this is a new experience that I have to just accept now as part of my reality. And yeah, it sounds totally crazy sober, but that's what it felt like. Now, granted, I was tripping. Take it or leave it. Believe what you want. I don't know what I believe still, to be honest. But yeah, so the next day I did not want to do it again. I was so exhausted. And I thought to myself, there's no way that I'm doing this again. That was so rough, so painful, so scary. And there was a lot of people there that were kind of veterans and had been doing it a lot. And they were saying to me, "You did a lot of hard work last night, and you should keep going. Trust us, it's going to get better. you're here, you signed up for 4 nights, you might as well go all the way with it. So, the screen's going dark because I'm not playing. And not off the top of the. Can I do this? No. Alright, I gotta find a way to get under it or up top and fall back in. I will try up top because this feels like the easier thing to do, even though it's quite the climb. But, don't fall. Alright, well, at least I didn't fall all the way down. So, yeah, I had talked to some of the people the next day, and they basically convinced me to try another night. Kind of peer pressured me a little bit, but I was really just scared. So they said to me, just ignore the intention of that night and just make your intention to ask it to help you trust it. So that's what I did. The second night, I just went in and I said, hey, I'm terrified from last night. I am scared of having a really hard experience. Please go easy on me and show me that I can trust you. So that was my intention, and I guess that's what I got. It was pretty strange and pretty freaky. Yeah, it feels weird to even talk about on here, but basically it felt as though my body was moving on its own and dancing and doing all these things, and started moving around and finding my arm would like go behind and like find a pressure point I didn't even know I had. And I had all this back pain before that was I was dealing with my whole life, and all my back pain just completely disappeared. I basically had no back pain left after that, which was kind of crazy. And it kind of felt as though my body had its own consciousness and was kind of allowed to finally just move in the way that it wanted to. The way I kind of describe it is, if you ever been like just kind of chilling on the sofa and then without thinking your toes kind of just start to like wiggle a little bit or stretch out or do something like that or kind of twitch. It's like that feeling, but a lot more intense and like a full body thing. It's hard to describe. So I was pretty freaked out, and yeah, it was this weird experience where basically I'd have a question in my mind. So let's just say I'd ask, why did X, Y, and Z happen to me? And then I wouldn't hear a voice or anything, but I'd have this like emotional feeling, and it would give this like instant upload of the whole answer. And it's really hard to describe, but it was just this instant understanding of, oh, okay, that's why it happened. I understand now. Then I'd ask another question. It would just be this instant answer, this instant understanding. And yeah, it was pretty freaky. It felt as though I was having a conversation with my subconscious or something higher than me. And it definitely, if it was my subconscious thinks that it's God or something godly, because it really felt like I was connecting with something higher. And yeah, I can totally understand why a lot of people just immediately are like, oh, I spoke with ayahuasca. Because it certainly feels that way. So basically, I had this whole conversation with my subconscious or ayahuasca or whatever it was. And yeah, after that, I was pretty spooked, but it was what it was. And I went in on the third night, and it was kind of more similar to the first night. I was reliving and processing a lot of events that had kind of left their scars on me and was having a lot of insights. And it felt as though my brain was kind of solving itself like a Rubik's Cube. And finally, it just felt as though it just clicked. And then it felt as though this veil was pulled out from under my eyes, and suddenly all of my depression just disappeared. And I remember having this feeling of, and these thoughts of just such immediate and unbelievable relief, and a thought of, oh my God, I can't believe how sick I was mentally. I was so depressed for so long, and I can't believe this is what it feels like to not feel depressed. And to finally be relieved of that feeling. And I can't believe that people can actually feel this good. And yeah, it was a very grounded feeling, and it wasn't the crazy high that I felt on the first night. In the end, it was just a very grounded but not sad feeling. And that was huge for me to connect with that feeling for the first time in most of my life. And after that, I was pretty much a changed man. I did one more night, and it was just weird. I had a weird dream, and I had diarrhea for the first time. TMI. But yeah, by the way, that was the first and only time I've ever had the shits on it. So if you're worried about that, it's not a guaranteed issue that you're going to have. But yeah, so I'm not even playing this game. I need to start focusing. But I opened the door. All right, cool. So, where was I? I did it for the fourth night, and I just had this really weird dream. I'm just not going to even talk about. But the first 3 nights were really the most important ones. And funny enough, I actually went back to my normal life and felt definitely this weird feeling of being high for basically a month. And I felt pretty ungrounded. And then I came down after that, and I started feeling kind of depressed and feeling that I needed it again. So I didn't like that feeling. I didn't really feel totally like myself anymore. So I had this feeling of that I needed to do it again with the intention of grounding. And I went to an integration coach and did all these things and talked to a couple people. And I started to integrate what I saw in the first one and realized that the visions I had seen had actually made me really happy. And it was something I actually wanted to go after. And yeah, after that, I went and did it again for 2 more nights. And I just made my goal to just ground into feeling the good feeling that I felt on the third night. And that's when I had kind of gotten the message of, you don't need more ayahuasca. You just need to integrate what you learned. And that's when you're going to actually start feeling good and feeling grounded and feeling happy. So I realized, all right, I need to not do this again for as long as it takes to integrate the lessons I learned. So that's what I did. I took 6 years to integrate what I had learned. And I'm still integrating it, and that's all right. I think it's going to be a lifelong journey, but I'm definitely well on my way to fulfilling the dream that I had. And I'm putting the work in, which is the most important part. And it's the normal cliche saying, but it's so true that the joy is actually in the work. It's not in the final result, is a big thing of that I've realized during this whole journey. And I have a feeling that once I achieve what I'm looking to achieve, it's the joy of it, I'm sure, will be long lasting, but at the same time probably won't be super long lived. And I think the journey is where a lot of the joy is. But we'll see. Not certain about that. Oh, okay, I gotta turn this around. So, yeah, I took 2 years off. And, sorry, not 2 years. I took 6 years off. And eventually, I stumbled across it again while I was on my travels. And I was scared to do it, but it felt like I was ready to try it again. And at that point, I was really just looking to really open my heart a lot more and basically, yeah, keep my heart open, because it felt like it kept opening and closing and opening and closing and opening and closing. And yeah, I really wanted to just maintain it being opened. And that is kind of, when I think about it, was actually the result. I feel that it hasn't really closed up much since. And I think that's partially due to learning to protect my energy a lot more since then. But mostly, I think, because of that. But yeah, my most recent trip was very strange and intense, very unexpected. I go in, and first cup I didn't feel anything, which was expected. Second cup I started feeling it, which was good. I didn't have to take 3 or 4 cups like I did the first couple times. And I was happy and content with only 2 cups. So I let it take me on the ride. And it was really weird. I felt myself dying and my consciousness slipping away. And it happened. I was really terrified about it happening to me, because of course no one wants to die. But it was so out of my control and happened so quickly. And then suddenly I was dead. And then suddenly I didn't exist for a few moments. But then I came into existence again. But it felt as though my heavenly astral body, spirit, whatever, was kind of floating and suspended at the top of the inside of a church, and there was lights shining in the windows on both sides, and I'm staring up at this beautiful church like ceiling, and I just felt as though I was basking in the light of bliss and God and being reborn. And I felt this feeling of rebirth into my body, as though I had just been given a whole new life again. And then I enter my body, and I'm back into the room, and I'm thinking, what the heck just happened? And that was terrifying, but I want to go back. But I'm happy to be alive and to be back. But at the same time, that felt so good. Like, I just want that feeling of basking in heavenly energy, whatever it was. Oh my gosh, kind of feeling. And then I felt myself kind of dying and slipping away again. But then I was reborn into a spider. And I felt myself existing at the spider and as the energy of a spider, and I wouldn't say thoughts, but instinctual thoughts and feelings of a spider. They weren't really thoughts, it was just more like instinct. And it was terrifying. And it was really like dark and not very happy. And I remember just this pure feeling of just this weird mixture of just conscious awareness and waiting, in this weird instinctual feeling of just waiting to pounce onto prey and eat it, and this feeling of fear at the same time. And it was just such a low energy, and it was really sad. It was a sad existence. And yeah, but it was patient at the same time. It was very strange, very uncomfortable. And I came out of that experience legit freaking out and just had this feeling of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened to me. And totally spooked and freaked out. And it took me a solid few minutes to just process it. Excuse me. I legit had the urge to kind of freak out when I came back into my body from that experience. But once I had a minute to process it and get over the pure terror that I had felt, I just came back into my body with such gratitude and such happiness to be a human. And there was the music playing from the live band of the people that were facilitating, and the shaman, and the singing and the guitars and all this stuff. And I just thought, oh my God, this is so beautiful that I can even just listen to music, and then I can live as a human, and we smile and we interact and we talk and all of these things. And that gratitude refilled my heart, and I really felt my heart filling up, and it put me in this mood to dance. And I started dancing, and me and some of the other people in the room were dancing, and I was having a really good time and feeling really good. And then I felt the need to lay back down again. And then I had a weird Kundalini type of experience where this energy rose from my feet up to basically my throat and stopped. So it was a partial Kundalini type rising. And it felt legit orgasmic. It felt as though I was having an orgasm with the universe, and that it was this blessing from the universe for being on the path that I was on. And yeah, it was pretty mind blowing. And then I started feeling shy about the experience, and then the experience went away, and I started feeling sick and in pain. And like my shyness would like take me out of it, and I'd feel pain. Like I think to myself, well, no, I don't want to feel pain. So I'd swing back to feeling the orgasmic energy again. And then I'd think, oh my God, I feel so good, but now I feel embarrassed. And I just kept swinging back and forth. And eventually the pendulum kind of went back to the middle and the experience ended. So, of course, I was sad and feeling bad about beating myself up and ending the experience too soon. But what can you do? It just is what it is. Your personality is what it is. So, I, yeah, basically, that was the experience. And I didn't really know how to integrate that. I still am not totally sure what it means or how to process that. But I felt that I got what I wanted out of it. I feel that my heart is a lot more open now, consistently. And when I feel it closing, I'm so conscious of it that I'm able to actually do the things I need to do to keep it open and keep myself more loving and grounded in that. So I don't know how it worked, but it somehow worked. So yeah, ayahuasca is very strange and confusing and weird and sometimes intense and terrifying, but will typically give you what you ask for. Oh no. No. Oh, okay. Well, that worked out actually. So that was my ayahuasca trip. And would I recommend it? Depends. I think for most people, no. If you feel like you need help, go to a therapist or just find things that'll make you happy or do something a little less intense. But if you feel that you need it and you know that it's something you want to do and you feel it calling to you, and when I say calling, circumstances are going to work out. It worked out for me. I kind of had this just magical opportunity open up and I took it. And I think that's what will happen. The opportunity will present itself when it's time. I might die from this thing, this robot guy. Hmm. Yeah, I don't have enough. Yeah, I don't have enough food to eat. My throat hurts from the story because I'm sick and I'm really tired. So yeah, I would say if you feel called to it, try it. If you don't, if you don't feel ready, don't do it. I think that it can be super helpful, but I've also heard stories of it being hurtful to people. And I've also met a lot of people that are not very grounded and are kind of, yeah, they're doing it so often that they're just drinking the Kool-Aid and not integrating what they've learned and actually learning the lessons they need. And I think that's the biggest mistake that you could make is to not actually, yeah, integrate. So, yeah, I think it could be beneficial for a lot of people, but it also could be detrimental and cause you to lose your way. So, you really have to be ready to put in the work and actually commit to change and to commit to integration. I would not recommend doing it more than once every few years, personally. Uh, okay, that did not work. Because it takes time to integrate. It's super intense thing to do, and it'll take time. It'll take time to learn what you need to learn from it and to understand and to, I want to say, recover from the experience because it's intense. And it takes a while for your brain's neurochemistry to kind of rebalance. It took mine a while, and I think that's pretty common. And I think people kind of get addicted to the high of it that you feel afterwards, because there's something called the afterglow that people talk about, which is what I felt for a month. And I had that feeling of needing to do it again. And I think a lot of people start to feel that and kind of get trapped in that cycle. So I think it can be actually kind of addictive. And there's also a lot of people that kind of get stuck in their spiritual egos, you could say. I've met a lot of people like that where they basically, at least on the outside, appear to see themselves as the next Buddha, basically. They act like they're super enlightened and have it all figured out, and in reality they're just projecting onto everyone else. And yeah, it's not fun. And you know what? I get it, because when you have this big spiritual awakening, you just want to share what you learned with everybody. And I've been there and done that. And yeah, I think it's actually pretty unhealthy. And it's just a sign of people not having taken the time to actually integrate and learn what they need to learn. And yeah, take on their own lessons. Oh, I'm back to the place I started. Yeah, so that would be my advice, is to try it if you want, and make sure you do it at a good place. And yeah, expect that you're going to find people that are still in their own journeys there and facilitating. And yeah, expect the unexpected. And if you're on a journey of healing, I think if you go in with clarity and certainty of what you want and determination to actually heal, you'll receive it. So yeah, that's my ayahuasca trips. It was pretty life-changing for me. And I will not be doing it again anytime soon. All right, that's it. I'm going to say story time's over because I'm tired. But yeah, my next video, I want to talk about what happened after that and kind of how life developed. And I ended up going on to starting a business and leaving the job I was at that I was feeling unhappy with, that they almost screwed me over with my vacation, all that. And yeah, it ended up proving to be not so great in other ways. So yeah, I feel that the ayahuasca trip is part of what gave me the confidence to step into this new role of mine and taking on a business. So, and I think that there's a lot I could share about running a business and starting a business and the experience and confidence I got out of that. So I'm going to make that the next video. So if you're interested, tune in. And I will try and be a bit more active in Tears of the Kingdom next time, because I know I've been pretty distracted and not really playing much, but yeah, I wanted to really give this story a lot of clarity and a lot of focus because I think that it's actually pretty important to get across, yeah, the truth of it and how it actually felt. And I think the last point I'll make is don't expect your experience to be anything like mine because everyone I've ever spoken to about their experiences have had completely different experiences than me. And I've talked to a lot of people about their experiences, and they just vary so extremely. It truly is an experience for you and what you need. So just expect the unexpected. And on that note, I will see you next time. Bye.